Long Beach in Simonstown is probably going to be one of the first dive sites that you will familiarize yourself with. Here you will meet swimmers in training, you will meet kayakers, fishermen, and the sunbathers. You can walk from the beach into the sea, and there is no sharp drop-off. There is just a gradual deepening of the water. Some divers choose to follow the pipeline out and go quite deep. All of the creatures that are featured in this video were actually observed in 2 to 3 meters of water. You can head left towards the little rocky outcrop where the fishermen keep their fishing boat, or you can move right past the fence into the area known as Admiralty or the Admiral's Garden. Please be aware that there's quite a sensitive relationship between the Navy and the divers and swimmers who use the area between Long Beach itself and the yacht club. Even though this is not a marine protected area, we still adopt the attitude that it deserves as much love and care and respect as if it was a marine protected area. So the same principles of don't touch creatures, don't interfere with the marine life, observe respectfully from a distance, all of that applies.
La mer, des reflets changeants sous la pluie. La mer, au ciel d'été, confond ses blancs moutons avec les...
One of my most favorite encounters so far has been with this cuttlefish. It emerged from a small rocky outcrop. It observed me for a few seconds, quite literally gave me horns, and then it relaxed, and we must have hovered around each other for about a minute, maybe 2, and that was that. But it was the most exciting thing because it was the largest, most exotic creature I had yet seen underwater. And this was very early on in my dive experience. And yes, the more you dive at Long Beach, the more likely you are to come across a short-tailed stingray. They come in from the deep and use the area to sleep in and to rest after hunting. They also come in for the shellfish and shrimps that are abundant and close to the shore. Of course, it is important to keep your distance. If you do have the opportunity to see one of these creatures, it's best to keep your distance and observe. They are gentle giants and are non-aggressive, but they are also animals of the wild, and they do have their defense mechanisms. Jellyfish at Long Beach are always such a treat to observe. You invariably get them looking quite healthy. They haven't been bashed and smashed and washed over rocky outcrops by the time they get into this little cove of water. They come in following drifts of plankton, and it's fascinating to watch them moving about. They are so otherworldly. Creatures without apparent noses or eyes or ears or mouths are able to hunt down so purposefully their prey and move in a very determined direction, and they're so magical. There was this event about 3 years ago where a large number of paper nautilus drifted into the bay. By that stage, it was a given that they were not going to survive because they are pelagic and they belong in the open sea over very deep waters. This was a very rare opportunity to see whole live specimens. It's definitely not a given that such an event will happen frequently. You can find the empty shells every now and again on the beach and in the shallows, but not on the level of the numbers that we saw. I think it was 3 years ago. Long Beach is also a great place to begin hunting for nudibranchs. Because you're not being swooshed around by waves and strong currents and big swell, you're able to get up close and hold still and spend time looking closely at the small rocky outcrops and tiny little reefs that are in quite shallow water. And there is a remarkable variety of nudies to be found here.
Au ciel d'été, confond ces blancs moutons avec les anges si purs, la mer, bergère d'azur infinie. Voyez, près des étangs, ces grands roseaux mouillés. Voyez.
So this is exactly what not to do as a freediver. This was very early on in the days of freediving, and I don't think I had seen a ray before. Anyway, I was so excited. I gave chase because I wanted to capture some footage on my trusty Olympus TG6. Anyway, it was only later when I got home and looked up what this creature was that I discovered it was in fact an electric ray and not a very common resident, and it can deliver a very powerful shock. It is also quite an aggressive creature apparently because it doesn't have many natural predators. So, all in all, it is best to be cautious and not go chasing after creatures. These little sea hares are abundant at Long Beach. Even though there are so many of them around, it was a long time before we got to see one in action. So their backs actually unfold and turn into wings, and then they fly through the water and look a lot like dragons. But it just goes to show that the more you're in the water, the more likely you are to see completely wild and bizarre and incredible things. So get out there and go and see what you can see.
Et d'oies blancs et ses maisons rouillées. La mer, elle les a bercés